in Uganda, south of Kabale, the use of the land is similar to much of Chigezi, the region that is in the farthest southwest corner of Uganda. The valley in which Kabale Town lies has a valley floor at 6,000 feet and the hillsides reach up to 7,000 feet. The area is close to the equator, but the high altitude means that temperatures are warm during the day and then cool at night, cool enough to produce a valley mist at times. The steep hillsides are covered with horizontal strips of land. I have 8 of these hillside plots spread up and down the hillside and the valley floor. The plots were passed down the generations, but some can be sold and bought. The local farmers often make agreements about fields. Many farmers rely on their families to work the farms. I have labourers to help with my farm, as well as my wife and children. Most of my 8 children are at school during term times. I grow sweet potato, Irish European potatoes, sorghum, maize, beans, cabbages and peas. The family consume much of the produce, but some is sold at the local market, especially in good years. Generally, out of my 6 bags of sorghum, there are 4 for the family and 2 are sold in the local market. This year has been a better year, and last year was not so good because of the heavy rains. Temperatures are generally warm throughout the year. Being on the equator, there are 2 rainy seasons separated by drier seasons. Most rain is induced by the growing heat as the overhead midday sun passes to and fro during the year. The altitude also helps to generate cloud and rainfall. I collect my own seeds from the previous harvest to sow the next season, as this saves the expense of buying seeds. Recently, I have introduced Irish potatoes. Here, farmers are invited to develop their farming by the government and by the local agroforestry institute near Kabale Town. Each year, it is normal to leave some fields to regenerate and for crops to be rotated round the fields. 11 years ago, I started zero grazing with the help of the heifer project of the Anglican Church in Kabale. The church helps the poorest families with children to obtain a heifer, a young cow, to provide milk for their children. Zero grazing means that the cow spends all day in a narrow pen or stall outside during the day and has a shelter at night. Grass and vegetation are given to the cow through the day. I have given several young cows to neighbours and to the project that helped me start. The cows' droppings in the shed and the pen are used to make manure. The manure increases yields of the crops. However, the cows have to be sprayed to protect them from disease. This is costly but worth it. Problems do occur with farming. Last year, the heavy rain spoilt the Irish potatoes and the beans. The animals may have ticks or an ailment. The government agriculture department provides drugs and sprays for these conditions, but they cost money. In the past, the hillsides were covered with forest, but most of this forest has disappeared. In the 1940s and 1950s, the population grew rapidly. Feeding the families led to more food that led to the forest gradually disappearing. Then in 1958, the government drained the valley floor marsh, and this could be cultivated. But even now there is no more spare land, and some people are moving out. but in the similar areas there is not much of a welcome, as these areas are also overpopulated. The increased population has led to smaller farms, but these are too small often to feed a family. Now some children are suffering from malnutrition. Today, the Chile Children Project has found malnourished children when making their surveys in the districts of Kabale, Rukungiri, Kanungu and Kisoro. I have been able to develop my farm more than the average farmer. This has allowed me to have a job as a builder, while my family and the labourers look after the farm. Few farmers have animals. There are only 150 zero-grazing farmers amongst the thousands of farmers in the Kabale district. There are some who do keep cattle. The poor farmers allow their cattle to roam, and this can spoil the crops of neighbours. The government is trying to stop roaming animals, and it has been keen to see all farmers improve and develop their farms. At present, the government are encouraging local farmers to plant trees on the hillside and to dig trenches to hold rainwater, to prevent soil erosion and the rain's runoff. The characteristic narrow strips along the contour of the hill were introduced many years ago by the old colonial administration. These plots helped ploughing along the contour, and a ditch was dug on the top. These plots make it easier to plough along the contour of the hill, and a ditch was dug on the top of the strip to trap rainwater. The traditional strips are about 4 metres wide. A few farmers manage 3 cows on their farm, but this is rare. Poor farmers collect grass and vegetation from the sides of fields and paths to feed their animals. Water for the family and the farm is important. For many farms, the family have to trek down the hill to a natural spring on or near the valley floor. Then the water has to be carried back up the hillside to their home. In the rainy seasons, the tracks become muddy and slippery. To control population growth, the government has a program of family planning, and many villages and towns have a family planning centre. Forming farmer cooperative societies is encouraged so that farmers help each other. Also, the government is trying to raise the productivity of the land and to stop soil erosion, which reduces the land available for farming.